At 72 years old, I'm standing in front of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Can you believe that I still can't? The tour guide handed me my ticket and said, "Welcome to Egypt, Mrs. Thompson." I looked at the golden sand beneath my feet and whispered, "Sarah, you actually made it. But how did I get here? Everyone said I was crazy. They said you're too old to travel alone. They said Egypt is too far, too hot, too dangerous for someone like me. But they didn't know my story. They didn't know about the dream that kept me going for decades. My name is Sarah Thompson. I'm 72 years old, and this is the story of how I made it to Egypt against all odds. I wasn't born dreaming of pyramids. I was born in a small town in Ohio where the biggest building was the grain elevator. We had very little money. My father worked 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. My mother took in laundry from neighbors. When I was 10 years old, my teacher showed us a documentary about ancient Egypt. I saw the pyramids for the first time. I saw the Sphinx. I saw the golden treasures of King Tutankhamun. Something inside me woke up that day. I raised my hand and asked, "Can regular people visit those places?" Mrs. Patterson smiled and said, "Of course. Sarah, people travel there from all over the world." That night, I told my parents I wanted to go to Egypt someday. My father laughed gently. "Egypt is on the other side of the world. Sweetheart, that costs a lot of money." My mother patted my head. "Maybe when you're older and have a good job." But I didn't forget. I cut out pictures of pyramids from National Geographic magazines. I taped them to my bedroom wall. Every night before bed, I would look at those pictures and whisper, "Someday I'll see you for real." Years passed quickly. I graduated high school and got married to Tom when I was 19. We had 3 beautiful children. Tom worked at the factory. I stayed home and took care of the kids. Money was always tight. We saved every penny for the children's needs: school clothes, doctor visits, birthday presents. There was never anything left over for dreams like Egypt. Sometimes, late at night, I would look at my old magazine pictures. Tom would find me there and say, "Still dreaming about those pyramids?" I would nod. He would smile and say, "Maybe when the kids are older." But when the kids got older, there were college expenses, then weddings, then grandchildren. There was always something more important than my dream. The years kept passing. I turned 30, then 40, then 50. The pictures on my wall started to fade. Sometimes I wondered if I should just throw them away. When I turned 65, something terrible happened. Tom had a heart attack. The doctors said he would be okay. But it was a warning. We both realized how quickly life can change. One evening, as Tom was recovering, he found me looking at my old Egypt pictures again. This time, instead of smiling, he looked serious. "Sarah," he said, "how long have you been dreaming about this place?" "Since I was 10, I admitted. "That's 55 years, he said quietly. 55 years of dreaming and waiting." I nodded, feeling a little embarrassed. "What are we waiting for?" he asked. I was surprised. "Tom, we can't afford it. We're retired now. We need to be careful with money." He sat down next to me. "We've been careful our whole lives. We've saved for everyone else's dreams. What about yours?" That conversation changed everything. The next morning, Tom and I sat down with a calculator and our bank statements. A trip to Egypt would cost about $4,000 for both of us. It seemed impossible. "Let's make a plan," Tom said. "How can we save $4,000? We started small. We stopped eating out once a week. We canceled our cable TV. I started selling homemade cookies at the local farmer's market. Tom began fixing neighbors' lawnmowers for extra cash. Every month, we put whatever we could into a special savings account. Sometimes it was $50, sometimes it was $20. Once, it was only $5, but we never missed a month. I made a chart and hung it on our refrigerator. Every time we saved money, I colored in another square. Slowly, very slowly, the chart filled up. Our children thought we were losing our minds. "Mom, you're almost 70, my daughter said. "Why don't you just stay home and relax?" "I've been relaxing for 55 years, I told her. Now it's time to live. Saving money wasn't easy. Every few months, something would happen. The car needed repairs. The roof started leaking. Tom needed new glasses. Each time, we had to dip into our Egypt fund. Each time, I felt like giving up. It seemed like the universe was telling us to forget about this crazy dream. One day, I got really sick with pneumonia. I was in the hospital for a week. The medical bills wiped out 6 months of savings. Lying in that hospital bed, I thought, maybe this is a sign. Maybe I'm too old for adventures. Maybe I should just accept that Egypt will always be a picture on my wall. But Tom wouldn't let me quit. "We've come too far to stop now," he said, holding my hand. "When you get better, we'll start saving again." And we did. After 3 years of saving, we had almost enough money. We needed just $200 more. I was so excited I could barely sleep. Then Tom got laid off from his part-time job at the hardware store. We were so close, but suddenly our income dropped by half. I felt heartbroken. Maybe this dream is too big for people like us. I told Tom. "Don't say that," he replied. "We'll find another way." The next week, something amazing happened. Our youngest grandson, Michael, came to visit. He was 15 and had been saving money from his summer job. "Grandma," he said, "I heard you and Grandpa are trying to go to Egypt." I nodded, trying not to look too sad about it. "How much more do you need?" $200, I said. "But don't worry about it, honey." Michael smiled and pulled out an envelope. "I want to help." Inside was exactly $200. I started crying. "Michael, this is your money. You worked hard for this. And you've been working hard for this dream for 60 years, he said. "Besides, when you come back, you can tell me all about the pyramids." That night, I booked our tickets to Egypt. The day of departure arrived faster than I expected. Tom and I stood at the airport with our suitcases, looking at the departure board. "Flight 447 to Cairo," I read out loud. That's us. My hands were shaking as I held our tickets. After 62 years of dreaming, I was actually going to Egypt, on the plane. I couldn't stop smiling. The flight attendant asked if I was okay. "I'm perfect," I said. "I'm going to see the pyramids." She smiled back. "First time." "First time," I said. "And I'm 72 years old." "Well," she said, "you're never too old for dreams to come true." The flight was 14 hours long. I barely slept. I was too excited. I kept looking out the window, watching the world pass by below us. When we finally landed in Cairo, I felt like I was stepping into a history book. The air was warm and filled with new smells and sounds. Everything was different and wonderful. Our first stop was the Giza Plateau. As our bus got closer, I saw something in the distance. At first, it was just a shape on the horizon. Then it got bigger and bigger. "There it is," Tom whispered, pointing out the window. The Great Pyramid of Giza stood before us, exactly like in my old magazine pictures, but it was so much more than I had imagined. It was massive. It was ancient. It was real. I stepped off the bus and just stood there, staring. People walked around me, taking pictures and talking, but I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. Tom put his arm around me. "How does it feel?" I tried to answer, but I started crying instead. Happy tears. Grateful tears, tears of pure joy. I can't believe I'm really here, I finally managed to say. We spent the whole day exploring. We went inside the pyramid. We saw the Sphinx. We rode camels. We took 100 pictures. But the best moment came at sunset. Tom and I sat on a small hill, watching the sun go down behind the pyramids. The sky turned orange and pink and purple. Was it worth the wait? Tom asked. I looked at the ancient stones glowing in the sunset light. I thought about all the years of dreaming, all the years of saving, all the obstacles we overcame. It was worth every single day, I said. We stayed in Egypt for 2 weeks. We saw temples in Luxor. We sailed on the Nile River. We visited museums filled with treasures that were old when Jesus was born. Each day was like a gift I had been waiting my whole life to open. But something interesting happened. About halfway through our trip, I realized something important. The pyramids were amazing, but they weren't the real treasure. The real treasure was the journey itself. It was learning that dreams don't have expiration dates. It was discovering that I was braver than I thought. It was proving to myself that age is just a number. Most importantly, it was showing my children and grandchildren that it's never too late to chase what makes you happy. When we returned home, people couldn't stop asking about our trip. Friends, neighbors, even strangers wanted to hear our story. "Weren't you scared to travel so far at your age?" they asked. Of course I was scared, I told them. But I was more scared of dying without ever seeing the pyramids. My granddaughter came to visit a few weeks after we got back. She found me looking through our Egypt photos. "Grandma," she said, "you're like a different person since you came back." "How so?" I asked. "You seem lighter, happier, like you accomplished something really important." She was right. I had accomplished something important. I had proven to myself that dreams are worth fighting for, no matter how old you are. Something wonderful started happening after our Egypt adventure. Other people in our community began chasing their own delayed dreams. Our neighbor, Mrs. Garcia, finally took art classes. She had wanted to paint for 30 years. Tom's friend from work, Jim, learned to play guitar at age 68. My daughter, who had always wanted to write a book, finally started writing. It was like our trip to Egypt gave everyone permission to stop waiting and start living. Now, when young people ask me for advice, I tell them this: don't wait for the perfect time to chase your dreams. There is no perfect time. But I also tell older people something different. Don't think it's too late. Don't think you've missed your chance. Don't think dreams are only for the young. I was 72 when I finally saw the pyramids. Some people might say I waited too long, but I say I went at exactly the right time. When I was younger, I wouldn't have appreciated Egypt the way I did at 72. I wouldn't have understood how precious those moments were. I wouldn't have been ready for the deeper lessons the journey taught me. Here's what I learned from my trip to Egypt. Life doesn't end when you retire. Life doesn't end when your hair turns gray. Life doesn't end when people start calling you elderly. Life is what you make of it, at any age. I spent 62 years dreaming about Egypt. Some people might say those were wasted years. But I don't think so. Those years of dreaming kept hope alive in my heart. They gave me something to work toward. They taught me patience and persistence. And when I finally made it to Egypt, every single day of waiting made the experience more meaningful. You might think that after finally reaching Egypt, I would be satisfied. You might think I would hang up my traveling shoes and settle into a quiet retirement. But you would be wrong. Tom and I are already planning our next adventure. We're thinking about China. We want to see the Great Wall. Our children think we've lost our minds completely. But our grandchildren think we're the coolest grandparents in the world. And you know what? They're both right. If you're listening to this story and thinking about a dream you've been putting off, I want to tell you something important. Don't wait. Don't wait for more money. Don't wait for more time. Don't wait for permission from others. Start today. Start small. Start scared if you have to. But start. Maybe your dream isn't Egypt. Maybe it's learning a new skill. Maybe it's starting a business. Maybe it's traveling somewhere you've always wanted to go. Whatever it is, you deserve to chase it. I'm 72 years old, and I'm living proof that dreams don't have expiration dates. If I can make it to Egypt after 62 years of waiting, you can make it to wherever your heart is calling you. The pyramids will always be amazing. But the most amazing thing about my journey wasn't the destination. It was discovering that I had the courage to take the first step. And so do you. Thank you for listening to my story. If you enjoyed hearing about my adventure to Egypt, please like this video and subscribe to English Stories with Alex for more inspiring tales from real people living extraordinary lives. Share this story with someone who needs to hear that it's never too late to chase their dreams. Until next time, keep dreaming and keep believing in yourself.